All right. So what I wanted to have the meeting for was a couple of things we were just brainstorming about, and we actually wanted to look into. So
Okay.
before I create a ticket and we go down that route and hours and all that other stuff. Just run it by you guys to see, Alex, what you think as far as is it something that will require hours, or is it even feasible and stuff like that? Just like we typically do before we formalize any ticket and stuff like
Yeah, sure.
that. Cool. So the first thing was regarding. Um, so if you look at any application,
Okay.
in the application there is uh, there's a tab called labeled as a communications tab.
Hmm.
So we really don't use that, but I remember the purpose of this was to set up so, during the negotiation part, communication can happen between internal and external and the applicant and so on.
Hmm.
I wanted to understand the since we haven't used it really, but the functionality, like what it to what extent does it allow, and then is it possible if we ever wanted to have that feature implemented on a different page or different object, let's say, is it possible to do that?
Um, well,
And if you have to look
I
into it, that's fine. But yeah,
I've never really looked into it. My intuition says it probably just sends an email.
yeah,
Um, and then if it does that, there shouldn't be anything, like there shouldn't be a dependency on the type of object. So
okay,
we should be able to put it on like wherever you want.
okay. And is it possible? And I'll put the detail in the email. But is it would it off the top of your head would it be possible to, let's say, if we wanted to limit it to be between, let's say, internal only or something like that? Is that possible as well?
So if you wanted to do that, you could just hide the tab based on
Ah, right.
like the profile. So then you could just say like,
Gotcha.
okay, only internal people can see the tab.
Mhm.
Um, and then obviously like whoever has access to the
Right.
award would only be able to get there anyway.
Gotcha.
Um,
Gotcha.
and
So
then
it'd
if
be
you,
like
no, no, that's,
organization specific, right?
yeah.
Gotcha.
Well, it'd be like award specific or something.
Or award. Oh, yeah. Sorry, award specific.
So yeah, so you
Yeah.
can
Okay.
set that up. I've just never used it and I've never seen it used, so I don't
Yeah.
know if it works that well.
Yeah. I'll get you some more details, but just I wanted to just run it by you to see if just on the basic level if it was possible. So I'll get you details as far as you know uh, uh, where and if we ever wanted to put it somewhere, what that would be and all that. So
Sure.
cool. So that was just a quick first one, and then the next thing I wanted to talk about. This has been something that I've been wanting for a while because
Hmm.
I feel that this is something any system should have. We don't have in the system a central place where any user can track like activities that are going on for grants that they're assigned to, whether internal or external. So I know we have the recent items, but oftentimes, and I just had this example yesterday and the day before where program managers are creating a new funding opportunity, and this is an example of that where they've done the review, but they're not sure, because they're not working on it every single day. Maybe one day and then a couple of
Yeah,
days
and it
later.
could
So
take like it could take weeks to get something done. Like, yeah,
yeah, and then what happens is, you can't remember what the funding opportunity ID is. You can't remember anything to link it. So it's like even they're asking me, this is the title, but I don't remember where it is. Even as an admin, it takes at least
yeah,
a couple minutes, few minutes to locate where it is, and then from that level of complication during the pre-award phase of it, down to anything related to payments or progress reports or doing revisions and anything like that. I've always wanted something where one link would show you whether, pending tasks show you what you have to do right now, right? But if you've done what you've done, but you're waiting on something, or something that doesn't involve a pending task, but just the next action needs to be taken, for example, you know, like decision document, when you're done with the application review for internal review, you generate the decision document. Then it's up for the senior deputy and um, the OGM to review it. Yeah, you could go to pending reviews and look at it there. But if you didn't remember where it was, for example, you have to jump through 5 different pages to, maybe here, maybe here, maybe here. So I don't know if you have something like this in other versions of GovGrants, but is there a way to have something where, I think this is something on both internal and external sides that has been seriously lacking, where folks have to call us at OGM to say, I'm looking for this, I can't find it, and it happens on both ends. Is there a way we can have something that shows us like activities that are going on that that you're working on in one
Like,
page? Is it possible?
the problem with that is there's no easy way to determine what one user has to do as opposed to
Hmm.
another. So like if you're program and I'm fiscal, right? And we're
Right.
both, collaborating on the same funding opportunity or whatever, it's hard for the system to know what my actions are and what your actions are and the difference between those
Uh-huh.
without having like that task, right?
Right.
So I don't like because the problem is there's all these um, like not hidden tasks, but there's a lot of places where you're right where it's like I'm waiting on someone to do something, but like I don't have a task right now, but I will
Right.
in like after the next step. So like how do I know
Right.
um, what like how can I anticipate what I need to do next or what's going on with records that I'll need to do something on in the future.
Right.
Um,
Would it be possible if, so I understand that part about, assignments and all that. Would it be possible if, let's say, you were assigned to a grant, right? So for example, like, the progress bars that we see on, let's say, on a revision, or on a payment request or progress report, the little green bar on the top.
right.
If we had, like, if you're assigned to a funding opportunity as a XYZ person, right? So if you're assigned to that role, there should, um, can we display those? And this is maybe asking too much, but can we display those progress bars? Like, let's say you completed your task, but the progress bar shows that it's currently on this level. So we might need to look into, as far as, because there's no progress bar for the pre-award part of it, because there's so many different steps in between. But something like that, if we can capture that information, and anything, if it's if it's approved, or not been submitted yet, it shouldn't show up. But if it's been submitted and it's along the approval line, it'll show up on the screen. So whether you have something to do on that or not, because you're assigned to it, it'll show up there. And then I don't know how we would do it for,
So
like.
those progress bars aren't that smart. All they are is just checking the status and then displays like the green line associated with that. So
Mm,
the problem
not
is
really.
like so let's say you have something that's kind of a little bit more nebulous, like the
Hmm.
pre-award requests,
Right.
where like if you don't have a separate status for each action that needs to be taken, then your progress report or your progress bar will only be like 3 nodes. It'll be like
Right.
created, in approval, and complete. And that doesn't really give you as much. I mean, it might give you some information,
Yeah.
but it's it's not going to be like you know, created, submitted for PM approval, rejected by PM, all that kind of stuff.
Gotcha. Um, okay. So when I brought up the thing, like an idea for this, like a while back with Trey, this was a while
Mhm.
back. What I was thinking at that point was, what if we had, like, a feature where you could, you know how you favorite certain web pages or items, and when you favorite something, you can see where it is. You know, you can come back to it at any time. So if something like that, where you can like, if you wanted to track, let's say, your funding opportunity process, right? So, or the application review or whatever. So you wanted to star that or whatever, put a bookmark on that, and then once you put a bookmark on it, you can track everything that's going on. Or is it the same idea that you were saying for the other?
I think I think that's more feasible
Mhm.
as far as like favoriting a record, doing that. I'm just not sure how you do it. Um,
Okay.
because like a naive approach would be you just have like a checkbox on
Yeah.
each record that's like, oh,
Mm.
have I favorited this? And then you like check it or uncheck it. But the problem with that is the way our tables work is they're all
Mhm.
there's no like general table. So you'd have to have like one table for your favorited awards, one table for your favorited grants, one table
Yeah.
for your favorited funding opportunities, and that
Yeah.
gets a little convoluted.
Right.
Um, so you might be able to do something like consolidate it all into one, and then you just like link to whatever object. Um,
Mm.
so that to me is more feasible than trying to do like trying to analyze the records
Yeah.
that I have in progress.
Right. And
Um,
only, and even though that was my initial like thought process to go about it, but then the follow up would be, what if you forget to favorite or
yeah.
bookmark something? So what I'll do is, I know we're not going to resolve the thing right now, but I'm gonna have to submit a ticket for this anyway, because the the amount of calls that we get for folks who are working on stuff that it's like, where is it, and then we have to put in time to actually help folks to try to find it.
Mhm.
It's an issue. It's it's a big enough issue where I think we need to find a solution for it. So I'll put a ticket in, but yeah, we'll go forward from there once we get to that part then.
We might be able to like Salesforce might have a solution to that too, so we might want to
Uh
look
huh.
at that as well and figure something
Okay,
out.
sure. Yeah. I mean, then we can in anything you can find. I'm open to any ideas as far as
Yeah.
which would get us
I
something that, yeah.
I think of the two, the most promising is implementing some kind of favorite feature or something. Um, but you're right, there are some concerns with that too. And then like, what if I favorite every single funding opportunity?
Yeah.
You know, I just think I think shifting the burden of that analysis onto the system is a little out of our breadth, if that makes
Okay.
sense. Because like
Okay.
that I don't think it's that trivial. It's not easy to just say like, you know, what do I have to do now? Um,
Right.
something you kind of need a human to understand.
Okay. All right. So, like I said, I'll submit a ticket, and then let's see what we can come up with, and we'll go from there as far as, but whatever the limits are, and see how that would work in that case.
Sure.
So, yeah. So this is something we definitely do want to have, because you, like I just said, it's kind of
Yeah.
very inconvenient, especially for the users who have to
Yeah,
call every
and
5
like if
minutes.
your end users are complaining, then yeah, that's a
Yeah,
concern.
and yeah, like I said, I proposed this idea back in, I think, 2016,
Yeah.
and just never got back around to just handling the tickets. But it's really annoying now. So, okay, so I'll submit a ticket for this one. Um, and okay, so that's the second item. Third item was, I submitted a ticket for, remember the grant supervisor notification?
Yeah.
I responded to um, your
Yeah.
email.
I saw that. I'm
Eh,
just trying to think
Oh, sorry.
about how to do it because
Okay.
like changing all that workflow, we're
Mhm.
still gonna have to like go through and do a lot of development and then also do some testing for that. So I'm
Okay.
just trying to think of like what are our alternatives? Like
Mhm.
what's something that you could do if you wanted to, what's something that's easier for us, or if you do want to go through like that change, we'll need to further think about like how that affects the other part of the process too. So
So
it's not
even,
just like
I'm sorry, go
creating
ahead.
a task and going from there. It's like why are we creating a task? What do we need to do? Do we need to reevaluate this process? That kind of stuff.
Right. Yeah, because and just to reiterate, the main thing is, you know, because we have the the thing set up where the grant supervisor is the only person who can assign it.
Right.
We need to have a task or at least a notification for assigned grant supervisor to set up
Right.
um, the thing.
And
So I mean,
so
yeah,
no, so I was just saying that that's why I thought like an email based on a workflow
yeah,
might work. Um, because like, well, it eliminates a user having to click a button. So it would
right,
just be the moment a review moves to completed, like once you've completed all the reviews, right?
uh-huh,
The system would just send an email to the grant supervisor associated with that FO, and it would just
mhm,
say, hey, you need to fill out your grant supervisor role on this FO, and it has a link to that FO in the email.
okay,
Um, and then like the issue is the tasks too. So you're right. If we wanted it to go with the tasks, you would have to have a button. Well, you might be able to do it through a workflow too, but then you have to figure out what action closes that task and how
mhm,
best to do that, right? So like um, for this one, we'd have to check on the for the roles, and because those roles are kind of used everywhere, it gets
mhm,
hard to check in those specific contexts. Like, okay, only for the roles that are listed on funding opportunities and whose action is this, this, and this, find this task and close it. Um, so like it's doable. Don't
gotcha.
get me wrong, it's definitely doable. It's just I'm trying
A
to
little more convoluted then.
yeah, like trying to make it a little more streamlined
So
or
if you're
at least
saying,
like think
if
through
you
it, right?
right, so I mean, yeah, I don't. To be honest, I don't. I mean, ideally, we would have a pending task, right? Because this way, when the grant supervisor logs in, they'll see a task to do whatever they have to do, right? But if you explore that and it's more work than it's worth, if if we can get at least we wouldn't need it at the end of a review because at that point there's no assignments done. Because at the point where the program manager notifies the winner and non-winners. That's the winners then get a notification, and then at that same time, the pre-award tasks are generated, right? So maybe when the PM clicks that button to notify a winner, we can have the system send a notification to the grant supervisor saying, please assign the grant monitor for this funding opportunity. Click here, and that would take them to the funding opportunity directly. Whether or not the PM has assigned the rest of the roles at the moment, or no, actually no, because that wouldn't work. Because the PM has to assign the roles for the grant supervisor before the grant supervisor can get a notification.
Why is that?
Because when the pre-award is generated, right? So in that
Right.
phase, at that point only the PM role is assigned. The rest of the roles, for whatever reason, the way it was set up, the rest of the roles have to be assigned by the program manager. So the program manager has to set the program project officer, the the bureau chief and the grant supervisor. And then when the grant supervisor is set, at that point they click save, and then the grant supervisor has to assign the grant monitor. Once the grant monitor is assigned, then everything has been completed, and then
But
the
the
program manager.
supervisor only has to sign it at the funding opportunity level, right?
Right.
Once they assign it at the FO, it cascades down to every other application.
Yeah, and but the thing is that the roles are assigned on the funding opportunity level. So if the PM, let's say the pre-award task is
Oh, right.
created, and if
Yeah,
the PM hasn't assigned the grant supervisor at that point,
right.
then
Then they can't
no,
do that.
yeah, yeah.
Um, Yeah, because
I
that is weird.
mean, to be honest, like the grant supervisor, there's only one grant supervisor per organization. So, in my personal opinion, I don't know. I, I feel like we should just have that automatically show up, but I know there was an issue with the automatic roles to show up, but
Right.
but that's the issue in between where how do we trigger, and then I was like, maybe we can get a button so when they do their part, the PM does their part, then they can click the button and then something gets sent, even if it's just a notification that gets sent to the grant supervisor, because I believe that functionality, we have something similar in the revision process where once the I think once the grant supervisor enters in the what do you call it, uh, the purchase order number or
Yeah.
the requisition number, they click on a button to send it to the Office of Grants Management (OGM) to
Yeah.
do the PO number.
Right.
So that's where the issue comes in. Then.
Yeah. Just let me think about it a little bit more.
Sure, sure,
Like,
yeah, that's fine.
sorry I haven't
That's
responded, but we
no, no, that's fine.
I'm just
That's
trying
why I just
to,
wanted to bring it up. Yeah.
yeah, just trying to think about it.
No
Um,
worries. Yeah, that's just they're doing just hey, can you put the grant monitor
Yeah,
type of
no,
thing.
I totally understand.
But
Like it doesn't because there
yeah,
I don't know how long it could be between like the PM putting
right.
in all that stuff and the grant supervisor. And
Yeah,
if
and
it's
then
more
and
than like 2 days, then yeah, you need like I'm not gonna remember to do that.
right, and
So
then what you would need, and I'm assuming you know this, but like let's say there is a couple days in between where the grant or the PM sends the notification to the grant supervisor.
yeah,
How would the grant super or PM know that 2, 3 days, 4 days
yeah,
down they
exactly.
haven't? So like a confirmation email back to the PM or something like
Yeah,
that, informing them that it's been assigned. So yeah, just think about it, and then let me know whatever you come up with at that point. Then.
okay, cool.
All right. Next thing is, and I'm sorry if you have to go, just let me know.
I've got a hard
But
stop at 1 because that's when this room
that's
is
fine. We'll be
reserved
done
again.
before then.
But yeah, that's
That's fine.
fine.
We'll be done before then. For risk assessments,
Yeah,
we're in the process of, and I think I emailed this to you, but in the process of revising the monitoring part of the the system.
right.
For risk assessments, would it be possible? You know how we have risk assessment tab on the grant level?
Hmm.
If we wanted the same risk assessment tab to be shown on the award level to show like the recent or any risk assessments that have been done on the award level, whether it's drafting a new one or one that's issued or whatever. Is it possible to do that? I'm assuming yes. I just wanted to confirm.
Um, I'd have to go back and look. Like, so you should be able to do it. It would just be a matter of like you might not be able to separate it out by like I have a total of 5 risk assessments. 3 are for my first award, 2 are for my second. I don't
Hmm.
know if those risk assessments are tracking which award they belong to. Um,
Okay.
so like if you did it, it would just be like you'd see 5 on both awards.
Gotcha.
But
Okay.
I don't remember if risk assessments are associated with awards like that. Because
Okay. So,
if they are associated, you could
uh-huh.
do that. If not, then
It'll just show everything.
yeah, it would just show everything.
So I'll definitely submit the ticket for this as well. And
Hmm.
um, if we do get everything to show up, maybe if you can look into whether it's possible to show um, the results of the risk assessment like on the flex table, and then if they wanted to click in to look at the details, they can do that. So if it's like satisfactory, unsatisfactory, with the buttons or the numbers or whatever. Um, uh,
Yeah,
it,
it should be there on the grant at least, right? Like when you look at the grant table,
yeah,
it'll show like the color coded.
I believe so. I mean, because we haven't had a time to chance to look at this functionality in the systems. The folks really haven't been doing the risk assessment in EGMS,
Right,
which is what now we need to get them to do it because of our KPIs and everything like that that's coming up
right.
soon. So yeah, I'll submit a ticket, but I wanted to mention that to you.
Sure.
Um, the ticket for this. Uh, oh, and when you responded to me about risk assessment before, about the colors and how the numbers are thing, you
Right.
wrote that so 0 to 32 is green and so on and so forth, and then the system defaults if there's nothing done 0 and it's green. Is it possible, like if no risk assessment has been done, but it still shows up as a green, is it possible to have it just be blank?
Mm,
Because then they're kind of like gives false information
yeah,
where,
yeah, definitely.
you understand?
Um,
So I'll put that in the ticket with the other risk assessment stuff, but I just wanted to make.
put it. It should be possible. I'd have to go.
Okay.
Like I said. I mean, like you guys have never used risk assessments. I've definitely never looked
Never,
into
never,
it.
ever. Right. Yeah.
So I have to go through and look back and see what's possible and what's not.
Sure. Yeah. Okay. So I'll submit the ticket for that. So
Yeah.
you can look at that as well. Okay. So second last thing is uh, looking into. All right. So we definitely need to update our logos. I know we had that one
Right.
kinda ish session where we talked about logos and how to update it. So I mean I'm good on doing it with on the what do you call it, the uh, email notifications, the header,
Right.
footer, and all that. I've done that. I'm good with that. But I'm still not sure how exactly, because you saw the very bad failed attempt that I tried to do
Yeah.
in
I think
Sandbox.
that's more of a thing about like the image size.
Yeah.
Um, because like the CSS that controls that is kind of wonky. Well, and by that I mean it's like looking for a specific image size. So if it's not the right size, it kind of breaks, which is always
Okay.
fun. Um,
So do we know what? Like, I have no idea about this stuff, but do you, at least on the whatever CSS side, do you know what the image size should be so I can get somebody here to?
I'd have to go back and look,
Okay.
because it's basically just looking at whatever size that DC.gov image that it is now,
Yeah.
and if it's like more than that, something happens. And then I'm also
Okay.
trying to figure out where that Department of Health tagline comes from too, because it's not the
Yeah, because we're even though we are the Department of Health, we're no longer known as Department of Health. It's DC Health. So we have to update that part of it as well.
yeah,
Okay, I'll put a ticket for that as well then.
sure,
Just the ticket just for a reminder thing,
yeah,
and then looking
that's
into it.
fine.
Um, okay, there was an email that or a call that I just got, but I think it'll be easier if I send an email. It's about the payment authorization
Yeah.
notification. Um, it's for grant. What was it? 408. So they approved the December payment request, but it has the purchase order that's on the payment authorization notification is from FY18. The
Mm.
FY19 PO was updated in October. The task was generated obviously end of December, but it's still showing the old PO number on there. Like I said, I'll submit a ticket, but just to give you a heads up that this was.
So that's payment history. Because that information comes from the payment request. So yeah, I'll look into it. Just submit a ticket and
Yeah,
I'll
yeah,
see.
and if I can, in the immediate things out of all the stuff that I mentioned, if I can put in a priority on this one because payment is pending on
Yeah.
that. All right, last thing. Is there an update to like the role assignment issue? I know you guys said you were working on something.
Yeah, we've
Uh,
run into some roadblocks with that because it ended
yeah,
up being harder than we thought.
yeah. Okay,
Um, so we're still working on that. Um,
okay. Still working, so the work in
yeah,
progress.
it's
Okay.
it's basically because like there's a lot of like all of those buttons that are checking for the specific PM.
Uh-huh.
That is starting to get complicated. Because
Gotcha.
like if you reassign someone, you have to take that into account, and basically like initially what was thought is we could take what's been built for one of the other versions and just
Yeah.
plug that in, but then we found out that that particular functionality just reassigned tasks. It didn't deal with those like high logic buttons and everything.
Mm,
And so that's been kind of a challenge that we're still
gotcha.
working on.
Okay, just need an update. And promise, final thing, when looking at any like a payment request or progress report or whatever,
Hmm.
on the if you look at the native page
Yep.
for that item, there's a field over there that says reminder or something like that. Do you know anything about that? And like, is that something we can use, or if you know anything about that?
Native page. Was it for payment requests?
That's where I saw it last. So I don't know if it's available on every page, but payment requests specifically,
Should
I
be at
saw it.
least available on payment request. Um, there's tasks. Tasks have a reminder. Tasks have a reminder. Is this what you're talking about? Is it?
Yeah, yeah.
It's on the task. So let's do one quick thing. Let's find out. Do. Tasks. This might be like a native Salesforce thing that we don't use.
Okay,
So I'm not sure.
okay,
Because I've never seen it used anywhere else.
okay. All right. So that was just a random thing that I was thinking of because it's something that I felt like maybe if folks haven't submitted it within 10 days of the due date, then maybe we can use it to send reminders or something like
Yeah.
that. But
Um, we could always do like a batch
look into
job
it.
or something that takes all open tasks and sends an email, but
Okay. All right. I mean, it's not a priority. I just saw it and looked at it. Okay.
sure.
So that's all from my end. I'll send the email tickets for the items that we discussed, and I'll just wait to hear back from you about those
All
then.
right. Cool. Sounds good.
Cool. All right.
Thank you.
Thanks for your time, guys. I
See you
appreciate
around.
it. Yep.
Bye.
Take care. Yep. Bye bye.